A 15-year-old disabled boy rolls into an upscale restaurant excited for a special dinner, but his joy shatters when a rude waiter openly mocks him in front of everyone. Customers either laugh or look away, leaving him humiliated and helpless. Just as the boy lowers his head in shame, a deep, calm but powerful voice cuts through the room. Keanu Reeves has been watching the entire time. His eyes darken, his jaw tightens, and as he slowly stands up, the restaurant falls silent. What happens next will shock everyone. The warm glow of chandeliers bathed the upscale restaurant in golden light. Silverware clinked softly, conversations hummed in the background, and the scent of fine cuisine filled the air. Among the well-dressed diners, a 15-year-old boy in a wheelchair rolled in, his eyes bright with excitement. It was supposed to be a special night, a rare moment where he could feel like everyone else. But the moment he reached his table, a waiter in a crisp uniform sneered down at him. "Oh great, another one slowing down the place," he muttered, just loud enough for others to hear. A few nearby guests chuckled, while others shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. The boy's smile faltered as heat rushed to his face. Swallowed hard, trying to ignore the whispering and stares. Across the room, one man had been watching everything. Dressed in an elegant black suit, Keanu Reeves sat at his table, his sharp eyes narrowing. His fork hovered over his plate, forgotten. He had seen many kinds of cruelty in life, but this was different. His fingers curled slightly into a fist as he observed the boy's silent humiliation. The waiter smirked, leaning down toward the boy. "Maybe you should have picked a place more accommodating." His voice dripped with fake sympathy. That was it. Keanu Reeves put down his glass and slowly stood up. The air in the restaurant grew heavy as Keanu Reeves pushed back his chair and stood up, his black suit perfectly crisp, his expression unreadable. Every conversation stopped. The once smug waiter froze, confusion flickering in his eyes as Keanu calmly walked toward the table where the humiliated 15-year-old boy sat, his head lowered, gripping the wheels of his chair tightly. Keanu's footsteps echoed as he reached the boy's side. Then, in a voice calm but edged with steel, he spoke, loud, enough for everyone to hear. "Tell me," Keanu said, looking directly at the waiter, his tone dangerously quiet. "Is this how you treat every guest or just the ones you think can't fight back?" The waiter's smirk wavered. Sir, I was just humiliating a kid because you thought no one would stop you." Keanu cut him off, his voice now sharp. His piercing gaze locked onto the waiter, and for the first time that night, the power dynamic shifted. The boy hesitantly lifted his eyes, staring at Keanu in shock. Someone was standing up for him. The restaurant guests, once indifferent, were now paying full attention, some whispering, some suddenly realizing how wrong it all was. Keanu slowly turned to the boy, his voice softer now. "Hey, kid. What's your name?" The boy swallowed, still stunned. "Liam," he said quietly. Keanu gave him a reassuring nod before turning back to the waiter, his expression darkening. "Well, Liam and I are about to order, and if you can't serve us with respect, you can hand over your apron and find another job." The waiter's face turned a shade paler, his confidence cracking under Keanu Reeves's piercing gaze. The once smug smirk had vanished, replaced by an awkward gulp. The entire restaurant was silent, every pair of eyes glued to the unfolding moment. I didn't mean anything by it," the waiter stammered, trying to recover. "It was just a joke." Keanu's jaw tightened. He took a slow step closer, his presence commanding yet controlled. "A joke?" he repeated, his voice dangerously low. "Look at him." He gestured toward Liam, the 15-year-old boy in the wheelchair, whose fingers still gripped the wheels tightly. "Does he look like he's laughing?" The waiter glanced at Liam, whose eyes were still wide, not just from humiliation anymore, but from shock that someone was actually standing up for him. The boy had spent years being ignored, dismissed, pushed aside. But tonight was different. Keanu sighed, shaking his head. "Respect isn't hard. You don't get to decide who deserves kindness." His voice carried through the restaurant like a lesson everyone needed to hear. A manager hurried over, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. "Mr. Reeves, I sincerely apologize for this employee's behavior," he stammered. He shot the waiter a glare. "You're done here. Hand over your apron." The waiter's eyes widened. "Wait, No excuses," the manager snapped. "You embarrassed this young man, now it's your turn." A murmur swept through the restaurant as the waiter, now humiliated himself, slowly unfastened his apron and placed it on the table. Without another word, he turned and walked out, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. Keanu pulled out the chair next to Liam and sat down, flashing the boy a small, reassuring smile. "Now," he said casually, picking up the menu, "what do you say we order the biggest meal on this menu?" Liam let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Then, for the first time that evening, he smiled. The entire restaurant, once filled with whispers and indifference, erupted in applause. As the applause slowly faded, Liam sat frozen, his heart pounding. This wasn't just another night. This was the first time someone had truly stood up for him. His whole life, he had learned to ignore the whispers, the pitying glances, and the people who treated him like he didn't belong. But tonight, Keanu Reeves had made sure the world saw him. Keanu leaned back in his chair, a small smirk playing on his lips. "So, Liam," he said, tapping the menu, "what's the best thing on here?" Liam hesitated, still processing everything. Then, slowly, he grinned. "I've always wanted to try the steak, but it's kind of expensive." Keanu chuckled. "Steak it is." He turned to the manager. "We'll take 2, your finest, and dessert. Gotta make this a proper celebration." The manager, still flustered but eager to make things right, nodded furiously. "Absolutely, Mr. Reeves, everything's on the house." Liam's eyes widened. "Wait, free?" Keanu shrugged. "Call it karma, or just a really good night." As the food arrived, the tension that had once gripped the restaurant was gone. The same people who had watched in silence now sent Liam warm smiles, some even coming over to shake Keanu's hand and apologize for not speaking up sooner. For the first time, Liam didn't feel invisible. As they ate, Keanu casually asked about Liam's life, his dreams, his favorite movies, even cracking a joke about how he should teach the waiter some real acting skills. The boy laughed, a real, genuine laugh, and for the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged. By the time they finished, Liam realized something else. This wasn't just about him. Keanu Reeves hadn't just stood up for one kid, in a wheelchair. He had sent a message to everyone in that restaurant. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Keanu crouched beside Liam's wheelchair. "You're stronger than you think, kid. Never let anyone make you feel small." Liam nodded, his eyes shining with determination. Keanu smiled and gave him a light fist bump before heading toward his car. But before he got in, he turned back. "One last time. Next time it's your turn to stand up." Liam watched as Keanu disappeared into the night, the words echoing in his heart. Tonight had changed everything. As Liam sat outside the restaurant watching Keanu's car disappear into the night, something inside him felt different. The boy who had rolled into the restaurant feeling small and unseen was not the same boy sitting here now. For years, he had accepted mistreatment in silence, convincing himself that it was easier to ignore it. But tonight, Keanu Reeves had taught him something invaluable. His voice mattered. Taking a deep breath, Liam turned his wheelchair toward the street. He wasn't ready to go home just yet. Instead, he found himself heading to the nearby community center, a place where kids often gathered. He had spent months avoiding it, worried about how people would treat him. But tonight was different. As he rolled in, a few kids glanced his way. Some offered small nods. Others just continued talking. No whispers, no pity, just a normal entrance, something he had always wanted. He saw a boy sitting alone in the corner, a kid who looked just as lost as he had felt hours ago. Liam hesitated for a moment, then made a decision. He rolled up to him and smiled. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" The kid blinked, clearly surprised. Yeah, just had a rough day." Liam nodded. "I get it." He paused, then smirked. "Want to know something crazy? Keanu Reeves just bought me dinner." The boy's eyes widened. "No way." Liam chuckled. "Way. And he told me something important, that we don't let people make us feel small." The boy looked down at his hands, thinking. Then for the first time that night he smiled. Liam realized that standing up for yourself wasn't just about fighting back. It was about helping others find their strength too. And just like that, Keanu Reeves's words had already started something bigger. Because tonight wasn't the end of the story. Days passed, but Liam couldn't stop thinking about that night. Keanu Reeves had changed his life with just a few words and an act of kindness. But what stuck with him most wasn't just the way the actor had defended him, it was what he had said before leaving. "Next time it's your turn to stand up." Liam kept replaying those words in his mind. He knew Keanu hadn't just meant standing up for himself. He meant standing up for others, too. At school, things weren't much different. The same kids walked the same halls, and he still felt the occasional stares. But this time he didn't lower his head. He met their eyes, unafraid. One afternoon in the cafeteria, Liam noticed a freshman boy struggling to carry his lunch tray with crutches. A group of older kids nearby started snickering, whispering among themselves. It was the same kind of cruel laughter Liam had heard from the waiter that night. Liam's hands tightened around the wheels of his chair. He felt a fire inside him, the same fire Keanu had sparked. This was his moment. Rolling forward, he reached the boy before anyone else could. "Here, let me help you." He balanced the tray on his lap while the boy adjusted his crutches. The freshman gave him a surprised, "Look, thanks. I thought they were going to mess with me." Liam smirked. "Not today." The older kids exchanged looks but said nothing. They saw the confidence in Liam's eyes now. He wasn't the same kid who had once stayed quiet. And if Keanu Reeves had taught him anything, it was that sometimes one person speaking up could make everyone else think twice. Word of Liam's story spread. His classmates started treating him differently, not out of pity, but with respect. Even the teachers noticed how he carried himself with more confidence. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Liam came across a video. Someone had secretly recorded Keanu Reeves standing up for him at the restaurant. It had gone viral. Thousands of people were commenting, praising Keanu's kindness, but also talking about Liam. The way that kid handled it. Total inspiration. That boy is stronger than people realize. Liam's heart pounded. It wasn't just a moment anymore. It was a message. And as he read through the comments, he made a silent promise to himself. He would keep that message alive. A week after the restaurant incident, Liam received an unexpected email. His heart skipped a beat when he saw the sender's name, Keanu Reeves. He quickly opened it. "Hey Liam, I saw the video. Looks like the world got to see what I saw that night. Your strength. Remember, kindness and courage go a long way. Keep being the person who stands up, not just for yourself but for others too. You're making a difference. If you ever need anything, you've got a friend in me." Liam stared at the screen, his hands trembling. Keanu Reeves had reached out to him, not just as a celebrity, but as a friend. He exhaled slowly, letting the moment sink in. This wasn't just about what happened that night. It was about what came after. From that day on, Liam became more than just the disabled kid people pitied. He became an advocate, a voice for those too afraid to speak. He started sharing his story, encouraging others to stand up, to push forward, and to believe in their worth. And as time passed, he realized something powerful. Keanu Reeves hadn't just saved him that night. He had given him the strength to save himself. And that strength? It was now changing the world.